Stories, I'm a fool for your love.
Hey everybody, Rock here. In my last video, I talked to you guys about the first two incidents where my father abused me. And I ended it there because for a couple of reasons, it's very difficult for me to talk about. And I didn't want to go on rambling in one long video. I think that this information is pretty heavy for those of you who have never experienced something like this, so a break is not a bad idea. Because I can go on and talk about my story all day, but if you haven't experienced it, it can seem like a lot of information, right? So I'm going to continue into my story today, and I'm going to first of all mention again my hesitation because of how I don't want you guys to see my father. My intention is not to hurt my father. My intentions are to, tell my story in hopes of helping you, helping others. So just to recap last video, my father and my mother, pretty well known in our community and well respected, and I had already been abused twice before hitting puberty, before hitting 8th grade as a matter of fact. When I entered 8th grade, that's where everything changed. Everything changed for me physically. Started getting little hairs all over the place that I didn't have before. My voice was in and out of man, boy. Call that screeching. And at the time, I was experimenting with masturbation. All these hormones are being pushed in my body. I'm feeling something I've never felt before, which is being aroused or being horny. I've never really felt that before. I was a boy playing with Legos. And all of a sudden, whoa, things started changing. And as there was already a precedent set in my mind about what was happening, my father had already been inappropriate with me twice. And everything, the timing could not have been better for him, I guess. Because he went and asked me a question about, do you masturbate? Is what he asked me. Do you masturbate? And it would just so happen that in that moment I was just starting to experiment. So I don't know what it was, but I guess a part of me was wanting to find somebody to help me, guide me through that experience. Probably not the best choice of mentor, but when you idolize your father and you put your trust in your father, you feel like you can tell him anything. And in fact, that's what the mantra was at our house. You guys can tell us anything you want, as I tell my daughter. And that's when the abuse started. After he knew that I was experimenting with masturbation, I think inside of him, part of him was like allowing himself to see a green light. He's being an opportunist, and he's seeing that, oh, okay, well, he's masturbating, so I'm going to masturbate with him and do stuff like that with him. And that's how it started. It was very subtle. From watching me take showers, and that's how it started. He was watching me take showers, and then he started suggesting that I masturbate while I was in the shower. Sometimes he watched, sometimes he didn't watch, at my request. And there was also, like when we were in my bed, we would masturbate together. He would make it like a game. He would make it like, well, we'll just see who can come faster. And I always didn't want to. It's very hard for me to explain because it's like, at first I didn't want to, but after a while of being convinced or coerced into doing it, you get used to it. And then, even though you don't like that it's happening and you're used to it, you start enjoying it. Not necessarily the masturbation with my father part, but the fact that I was experiencing orgasms. So it was kind of a new feeling for me. Probably at the age of 12, 13-ish. And I remember, like, often being upset that I didn't want to do what he wanted me to do. And I would cry. Like, I don't want to do this. This is not... And it all started... I started fighting back. And I say fighting back, not physically, but with my words, after watching like a 60-minute episode with my mom about a man, who was masturbating with his children, his boys, because he was teaching them in his defense, he was saying that he was just teaching them how to be men, which I think is wrong. You know, wrong answer. You're manipulating your children. And when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. This is what my dad's doing to me. The exact same thing. And even if I had a gut feeling that it wasn't right, watching this program on TV was definitely a turning point for me when I realized, whoa, we should not be doing this. This is inappropriate. Even I, as a, brand new teen, knew that it was inappropriate. So I would fight back with my words. I don't want to do this. This is not right, and then he would manipulate me. He would say, oh, I know, and I'm paraphrasing, but he would say, oh, I know you think I'm weird. I know you, and he would manipulate me. I know you must not love me for doing this. And I would say, no, I love you, and it's not that I don't love you. And then he was like, well, why don't we just do it? And then it's like, and I always would just end up doing it, and then I would cry, and I'd be hurt. Not crying while doing it, but... And then it would go on, right? It would go on for a while, 2, 3 times, 4 times we'd do it, and then I would have another kind of outburst. I didn't want to do it anymore, and then he would do the same thing, manipulate me and tell me how it's good for me and how, oh, you must not love your daddy, that sort of stuff. And it wasn't just, and then as it progressed and I got a bit older, I started fighting back with fists. And there was a couple of instances where I did that. And one in particular I'll talk to you guys about, where he wanted me to go to bed. We were at a family reunion, and he wanted me to go to bed. It was like 1 in the morning. I had been drinking. I was probably 15, 16, that age. And I remember getting into a fist fight in the tent because he was being really mean to me. And I was being a bit of an ass as well. But I was fighting back for my own reasons that nobody knew. And I remember saying, oh, you don't know. And my mom would say, why don't you just be quiet? She was talking to me as I was in the tent, drunk, rambling. And I remember saying, oh, you don't know, Mom. You don't know. If I just told you the truth, you wouldn't know. And she's like, what are you talking about? And then he jumped on me and started strangling me, choking me. And I remember throwing fists, as he's on top of me, throwing punches to my dad, who was obviously overpowering me. I think he was 30-something or quite 40, and I was 16. There's a big difference there. And that blew over. And I remember being in high school, talking to my friends about suicide, killing myself. And not knowing how to fully express myself, I would say it in a joking way. And my friends took it as a joke. But this went on for a long time. Months. And I actually remember like going into the bush with my dad's gun one time. And I was going to end my life. And I stopped for, timing, eh? Timing has a way of telling you it's not your time. My neighbor had a daycare. She ran a daycare out of her house. And I got home school early that day. At around 2, 3 o'clock, I guess, something like that. High school. And I remember thinking to myself, I would say to my friend, he would say, okay man, I'll see you tomorrow. And then I would say, not if I kill myself tonight. And that was the reoccurring thing. It happened a lot. I said that a lot. So I remember going in the bush near my house with my dad's .22, because I knew a .22 would do a job. I knew if I put it in my mouth and pulled the trigger, it would go through my brain and kill me. I knew that. But I knew that if I walked out with a 12 gauge and my neighbors saw me, they would ask questions. They wouldn't think, oh, he's going out to catch a partridge or a rabbit or something. So I knew that. So anyways, I'm in the forest and I'm contemplating where I'm going to do this. And at around that time, she lets the kids come out and play in her yard. And it was the sound of the kids' laughter that made me think of my brother and my mother and how I would be leaving them behind. And that's what really stopped me from doing that. I experienced that twice, where I contemplated suicide. And I want to end the video there today because I have so much more to tell you. But as always, I love you guys, and if you guys want to take something home with you, is that when you are looking at your friends and everything seems to be going okay, it wouldn't hurt for you to maybe check in. I think we don't do that enough as a society in general. We stay very superficial with our friends. And I think there's value in digging a bit deeper and saying, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Are you happy? At the time, I'm not blaming anybody for not doing that for me, because there was, like I said before, I made it seem like I was joking. So it could be seen as that. And when you're young and when you're 15 and your friend's joking about suicide, you don't think that he's actually being serious. You think that they're joking. Specifically when they're playing the angle of the joke. So maybe just check in with your friends once in a while. It's not a bad idea. Anyways, I love you guys. I'm going to leave it like that. Stay tuned for the other video where I go a bit further and tell you my details. And I hope you're enjoying these videos. I hope they're helping you. Have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye.